Today, we're going to discuss about Post-Impressionism. Post-Impressionism is originated from France. This type of art developed between 1886 and 1905 as a response to the Impressionist movement. This time, artists reacted against the need for the naturalistic depictions of light and color in Impressionist art. Post-Impressionism covers many different types of art, from the pointillism of George Suha to the symbolism of Paul Gauguin. Not unified by a single style, artists were united by the inclusion of abstract elements and symbolic context in their artwork. The most well-known post-impressionist is Vincent van Gogh, who used color and his brushstrokes cannot convey the emotional qualities of the landscape, but his own emotions and state of mind. So, post means after. So, after Impressionism. Ang mga artist sa nga time kay wala ni uyon sa paggamit og naturalistic depictions of light and color sa Impressionist art. Kaya ang Impressionism kay nag-focus man sa natural light, color, and realistic. Ang kaning post-impressionist kay murag ay ang post-impressions kay opposite ni siya sa Impressionism. Ang post-impressionism kay daghan siya gi-cover nga mga types of art. Apil na ana ang pointillism ni George Suha ug ang symbolism ni Paul Gauguin. Ang post-impressionism kay wala siya nag-focus sa usara ka art style. Mauto ang mga artist kay nagsabot sila nga i-include ang abstract elements and symbolic context sa ilahang artworks. Ang pinakasikat nga post-impressionist artist kay si Vincent van Gogh. Si Vincent van Gogh kay nigamit siya og color and brushstrokes sa iyahang painting para i-express ang iyang emotions and state of mind. Known for their diverse yet distinctive styles and their subjective perceptions of the world around them, the post-impressionists pioneered a new approach to painting at the turn of the century. Unlike the impressionists that preceded them and the Fauvists that followed, post-impressionist artists were not unified by a single aesthetic approach. Rather, what brought them together was a shared interest in openly exploring the mind of artists. Given the assessment of styles, techniques, and even subject matter evident in post-impressionist paintings, defining the movement can be difficult. However, by tracing its history, identifying its artists, and pinpointing its distinguishing characteristics, one can begin to understand the historic and symbolic significance of the movement. Tungod sa mga laylahing nga styles sa mga post-impressionists, sila'y gauna sa pag-create sa new approach sa painting. Ang mga post-impressionists kay dili sila pareha sa mga impressionist ug Fauvists na nigamit og usara ka approach. Ang mga post-impressionists kay naa sila'y sharing sa lain-laing styles ug open sila sa usag-usa. Kung atong sabton ang mga paintings nila nga nailain-laing styles, techniques o subject matter, lisod jud kayo sabton, pero kung atong i-trace jud ang history, ang mga artist ani o ang ilahang mga characteristic, possible nga makasabot na ta sa ilang gisymbolize.
So, the continuation of the Post-Impressionism. According to dictionary, Post-Impressionism is the work or style of a varied group of late 19th century and 20th century artists including Van Gogh, Gauguin, and Cézanne. They reacted against the against the naturalism of the Impressionists to explore color, light, and form, and the emotional response of the artist, a concern which led to the development of Impressionism. So, according to dictionary, ang post-impressionism kay work or style sa mga lain-laing group of artists katong late 19th century and 20th century. Apil ani ang mga artist kay si Van Gogh, Gauguin ug Cézanne. Nireact sila og wala sila hiuyon sa naturalism nga gigamit sa mga impressionist. So, the history. In the 1870s and 1880s, Impressionism dominated avant-garde art in France. Many up-and-coming artists, however, found fault in the Impressionist focus on style rather than subject matter. Aiming to shake up the contemporary art world, this group of stylistically dissimilar artists, including Paul Cézanne, Paul Gauguin, Vincent van Gogh, George Seurat, Henri Toulouse-Lautrec, and Henri Richelieu, formed the post-impressionists.
So let's proceed the next topic of the story. So history, like the Impressionists, the Post-Impressionists share their work with the public through independent exhibition across Paris. In 1910, note art critic, historian, and art curator Geoffrey. Mag-headset din, no? So, balik niya.
Defining characteristics. First, emotional symbolism. As Fry explained, post-impressionists believe that a work of art should not revolve around style, process, or aesthetic approach. Instead, it should place emphasis on symbolism, communicating messages from the artist's own subconscious, rather than employ subject matter as a visual tool or means to an end. Post-impressionists perceive it as a way to convey feelings. According to Paul Cézanne, a work of art which did not begin in emotion is not a work of art. So, para kay Fry, post-impressionist work ay dili na lang permi magtuyok gamit ang style, process, or aesthetic approach. So, in another way, mogamit sad sila og symbolism to give emphasis sa ilang work of art. Symbolism na mag-present og something, maka-present og something, muna sila mogamit og symbolism. So, this is the Pyramid of Skulls by Paul Cézanne in 1901. Second is evocative color. Color, what a deep and mysterious language, the language of dreams, that is according to Paul Gauguin. Unlike the Impressionists who strive to capture natural light's effect on tonality, post-impressionists purposely employed an artificial color palette as a way to portray their emotion-driven perceptions of the world around them. Saturated hues, multicolored shadows, and rich ranges of color are evident in most impressionist paintings, proving the artist's innovative and imaginative approach to representation. So, evocative color, ang artist mogamit og laing way na makarepresent sa iyahang work. So, makita dire na nigamit sila kanang saturated hues, multicolored shadows, and rich ranges of color. So, like this. Mao ni ang Yellow Christ ni Paul Gauguin in 1889. Unlike the original na Christ, diba, brown man na siya ang lawas. Iya Paul Gauguin, gigamitan niya og yellow din ang trees kay gigamitan niya kanang nahimo na siyang medyo red niya ang mga grass kay nahimo nang medyo na yellow na nay sagol green. So this is the way of Paul Gauguin na i-represent ang iyahang work of art.
Defining characteristics, distinctive brush strokes. So, like works completed in the Impressionist style, most post-Impressionist pieces feature discernible, broad brushstrokes. In addition to adding texture and a sense of depth to a work of art, these marks also point to the painterly qualities of the piece, making it clear that it is not intended to be a realistic representation of its subject. So, pareha sa works completed sa Impressionist style, most post-Impressionist Kai, there are characteristics, or you are going to look for the characteristics of brush strokes. So in addition, ang mga artwork po is adan po na sila og texture and a sense of depth para ang ilahang work of art is nindot. So these marks also point to the painter qualities. In addition, there are also qualities of each pieces or each artwork that is not really intended to be real or realistic in the representation of each subject or of each artwork or picture. So, mao ni siya ang picture sample sa distinctive brushstrokes. Next, different approaches. Unlike many other major movements, a myriad of style and subgenres compose post-impressionism. These include pointillism, Japonisme, and primitivism. So, ang pointillism, also called divisionism. In painting, the practice of applying small strokes or kanang dots of color to a surface so that from a distance they visually blend together. And the technique is nag-associate ni siya sa inventor nga si George Seurat og ang iyang estudyante nga si Paul Signac, who both espoused sa Neo-Impressionism, a movement that flourished from the late 1880s to the first decade of the 20th century. So, mao ni ang sample ni George Seurat nga painting, A Sunday on La Grande Jatte in 1884. So, ang Japonisme pod is a French term that refers to the popularity and na-influensyahan sila sa Japanese art and design in Western Europe in the 19th century, following the forced reopening of trade of Japan in 1858. So, ang Japonisme mao ang first described by French art critic and collector sa Philip Berti in 1872. So, ang primitivism po is in art involves the appreciation and imitation of cultural products and practices perceived to be primitive or at an earlier stage. That would be all. Thank you.